What up, is Marcus Dynasty Dads? We are back with another 2023 class video. We have a DeAndre Swift signed jersey we'll be giving away when we hit 2,000 subscribers. We've had a little bit of a speed burst lately, hitting some subscribers here. So if you are new to the channel, like, subscribe. We are going to be going through some reviews of how well this channel has done through the 2022-2021 season. See if we are going to be doubling down on some of these predictions and some of these statements, or if we are going to be like, yep, we were wrong. We were going to change our mind on some of these players. But we're going to be doing the 2023 class 11 to, we'll just say 19 or 20, depending on how far and how much we want to get through today. A lot of these players are going to be changed based off of a few things, and I'm just going to kind of walk you through a lot of running backs today. Landing spot is huge. That's going to be are they going to be in a particular situation where they're going to be able to succeed with their talent base? Number two, and probably the most important, actually, honestly, is draft capital. Are they going to be drafted into the third round, the day 2 of the draft? Or are they going to slip down into the Kenneth Gainwell lands or the Zamir White lands, 5th, 6th round, where it's going to be much harder to predict success? And at least historically, we are a very analytical mindset. I mean, we like to watch through some of these films to make sure these players are good. But I mean, film is a key of this. But I mean, when you're looking at historical success, that's going to be draft capital is huge. And then we're going to be looking at some of these like quick 3-cone drills. We're going to be looking at go through the film. Can they have some good receiving abilities, or what exactly are their strong suits or their weaknesses, and some, again, historical data. So number 11, we're going to get to Zach Evans, TCU, SEC Freshman of the Year. This just shows how deep this class is because, honestly, Zach Evans is a good running back out of TCU. And in some classes, he would probably be into that middle first. But he's being pushed all the way down to 11 because of how good some of the running backs are. Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, and some of the wide receivers that we really, really do like as well. And, of course, a couple of quarterbacks that we talked about in a couple of days ago video. And if you haven't looked at that, that is a video to watch first before you watch this video. But Zach Evans is a running back that I do really like. I mean, I do want to watch more film through Zach Evans here. He's had some ups and downs, it seems like, throughout his career. But when you start as a freshman who succeeds at a high level against older players, I think it's that early breakout age. We love to see the 18-year-olds outperform the 20-year-olds on the same field. And so Zach Evans is a player that could rise dramatically, or honestly could be a big faller. I mean, we've seen that in the Isaiah Spillers of last year. We have seen that in the Kenneth Gainwells. They can be great, or they all of a sudden you start seeing their draft capital be 5th, 6th round, or 4th round, and you're like, I don't like him as much, and he might push. So really, he has some of the biggest volatility on where he could actually be positioned in your Dynasty 2023 draft. Which don't have it before the NFL draft, please. Just don't. Number 12 is Michael Mayer. Did I say Michael? Michael Mayer. Michael Mayer, not Michael Mayer. Michael Myers is the killer. You do not want him. Michael Mayer. And if you've never watched film on Michael Mayer, he has been the number 1 tight end in this class for the last few years, and everyone's been talking about him. But if I were to give you a picture in your head of who this is TJ Hockenson. A little bit light. Now, when I mean a little bit light, means not as high of a prospect as TJ Hockenson, in my opinion. He is TJ Hockenson light. A lot of people like to throw the Gronk or the Kelsey comparisons out there to tight ends in general. Everyone's a Kelsey light or everyone's a Gronk light. I honestly think he positions himself very similar to TJ Hockenson. I mean, he's 6'4", 250 pounds. He just reminds me of a tight end that is not an exceptional blocker. He's just not. I mean, TJ Hawkins is a better blocker. So he's not going to be put into the George Kittle or Gronk role where they're constantly blocking. But Michael Mayer here out of Notre Dame is a good tight end that I think will probably be into the Dalton Schultz performance levels of maybe in a couple of years. Again, these tight ends take so long to perform. Think Dalton Schultz, think Pat Freiermuth production-wise. You're looking at a tight end that's probably into that like 6 to 10 range. Valuable, yes. Extremely valuable, no. Worthless, no. Like you want that tight end balance, and Michael Mayer is the best one to give you that opportunity. So again, proceed with caution. So we have another running back. And again, I'm horrible at pronouncing names, so please do not butcher me. But Kendra Miller here, out of TCU has risen probably potentially higher than most running backs that have entered this class. And it's just, yes, he was waiting his turn behind Evans. And really, it was like when he was unlocked, he was just allowed to perform and show off. And you go, whoa, who's that Miller guy? He's 6 feet tall, 220 pounds, and he hits all of the benchmarks of what you want in a running back that goes to the NFL. And that's why he averages 3.61 yards after contact per attempt. He honestly could end up being Javonte Williams of this class. That's how great he could end up being. Again, high volatility. We don't know through 13 games, he had 1,342 yards on 216 carries and 17 touchdowns. He checks the box on that he can catch. He only had 20 targets, 16 catches. Nothing crazy, but he has the ability to catch, and that's what you want to know. So Miller is another guy that could shoot up the boards. There's a lot of these running backs that are into this kind of middle tier of like, man, they could be starters in the right situation. They have a lot of talent. Where are they going to go? Are they going to go into the second round? Are they going to go in the third round of the NFL draft? Super important. Where do they end up being? Like, does Miller end up being on Houston? Does he end up being on, does he end up on Chicago without David Montgomery there? Does he replace Jamal Williams in Detroit? Does he end up going to Minnesota? Does he end up going to Tennessee? Or does he end up going to the Saints? Like, these are all teams, there's so many teams and so much change that's going to happen with all these free agents. If you haven't looked at the free agent list, it's dramatic when it comes to 2023 running backs. And this class has a lot more depth than the 2022 class. 2022 class was like really good, boom, just a cliff. And we talked about the cliff. And we talked about not trying to reach for running backs because we knew that there was other running backs that you could go after that were more veterans, or you could wait till this class, which is the class that you want to be starting to try to pick some of these players. But we're going to be walking through more film of these players, and so we're going to go to the next player here. All right, so number 14 is Blake Corum out of Michigan, and I think the biggest knock on him, 5'8", 200 pounds. Maybe a little bit more, which we want that. But really his draft capital, especially with mock drafts, has been exploding, has been going a lot higher. And so being on the Heisman as a finalist, I think will help Blake. He has fluid hips. He has a good center of gravity, pretty low center of gravity. He's a home run type hitter too at Michigan. He had 24 receptions. 5.3 reception share, which is definitely, it's not great, but like, it's, again, can he check off the box? Probably check off the box. 17 touchdowns, so he's a touchdown guy. 5'8" doesn't worry me. 5'8" is honestly not bad. It's if he goes to if he goes to the NFL Combine and he ends up being 5'6" 3/4", that's what's going to concern me. I want to see him be 5'8". We have plenty of running backs that end up being 5'8". Some are really, really good, like DeAndre Swift, and some are like CEH, and they just are short. And there's plenty of running backs that come in and they're like, oh, they're 5'10", and then they line them up and they're 5'8". Rondell Moore was another player that, man, he really lost a couple of inches. And so some of these players are going to lose inches and some people are going to gain inches. Very rarely do they gain. So it says 5'8". I want to see 5'8" from Blake Corum, or else we potentially could be having some issues with his height. And I know I don't want to be nitpicky, but you got to be nitpicky at sometimes. We're in the middle of the first. Number 15, Jalen Hyatt. He is the wide receiver that has helped himself out the most. He earned the Blitnikoff Award. If you don't know what that means in college, it recognizes the top receiver in the nation. He only had 67 receptions, but he had 15 touchdowns, which was a school record, 18.9 yards per reception, 3.2 yards per route run. He was a primarily slot receiver. The next two receivers, this one and the next one, we're going to be talking about slot receivers, which 3 years ago, I want to kind of take this kind of nomer out of it. That 3 years ago, we heard slot and we heard fantasy dead. Like, they cannot perform in the fantasy unless you're Victor Cruz. But the NFL has changed. A lot more 3 wide receiver sets. We see wide receivers that have primarily played in the slot and been fantasy production, like Justin Jefferson. All he did was play in the slot, and I don't think that has bothered him one bit. CeeDee Lamb, all he does is play in the slot, and he is totally fine. Treylon Burks never played outside, and you can see that he can play outside. He can, unless you're, you even have fantasy players like Cooper Kupp, Hunter Renfrow, which is Cooper Kupp super light. And we're going to talk about a kind of Hunter Renfrow type of wide receiver here very, very shortly. But Jalen Hyatt, again, a player that I like. I think that I want to see. I want to see where he lands. I think this could be really depending on like where does Jalen Hyatt end up going. Does he go to a high passing volume offense? Because if he does and has a good quarterback, I think this could be a great pick. If he ends up being a wide receiver, him and the next one, if they end up being in bad, low passing volume offenses like Baltimore, I'm going to cry and I'm going to be pushing him down my boards. Because the next one is Josh Downs out of North Carolina. He is the Hunter Renfrow type of wide receiver. 1,335 yards on 101 receptions. It's just, we talk about him, he's in the slot. He's a slot wide receiver. It's not an end-all be-all, but he is, again, he's going to run a 4.5. He jumped, he might even run a little bit faster than that. But he jumped 42 inches in high school as a vertical. Like, he's a very athletic wide receiver. And so I like Josh Downs. I think Josh Downs is going to be an excellent slot wide receiver, which are becoming more valuable now these days, even in fantasy football. Number 17, Zach Charbonnet. I think that's French. There's a T at the end, but don't pronounce that T. Really, middle of the second, just, again, shows how deep this class is. He initially was at Michigan, then he transferred to UCL prior to 2021. He rushed for 204 times for 1,153 yards and 13 touchdowns. Rushing 194 times, getting a whopping 7 yards per carry is just, ridiculous. He's 6'1", 220 pounds, and he really is the powerful, he will run through you. I do like this as more of a powerful back. One kind of thing is he averaged 4.15 yards after contact per attempt, which is absolutely ridiculous. He, again, could rise up some boards. He does remind me a little bit too much of, and I don't even want to say it, he kind of reminds me a combination, like if you said, hey, we have Trey Sermon and we have Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet is kind of like right in the middle. Like, he's not Kenneth Walker, he's not Trey Sermon, he's kind of right in the middle, which I'm trying to think of a player off. He's A.J. Dillon, but not 250 pounds. He's 220 pounds. Maybe he was 225 pounds. So I think that's more A.J. Dillon. He's A.J. Dillon. He's an low-end RB2 potentially in the right situation. Maybe he ends up being a backup to one of the older running backs that we see. Whether Pollard leaves and he ends up going to Dallas, maybe Dallas ends up going for more of a speedy guy. We'll end up seeing, or if they keep Pollard, maybe they get Zach Charbonnet and then they get release Zeke. Again, that could be a whole little mess there. He could go to Chicago, who desperately needs a powerful running back if David Montgomery leaves. Or he could go to Minnesota. Everyone's talking about Ty Chandler, but I think that, honestly, that you're going to have a backup not named Alexander Madison to Minnesota's going to have to draft somebody. And I feel like Zach Charbonnet is that guy that could easily be the Alexander Madison type. Somebody powerful that is going to be yards after contact that's going to run through it. In fact, I actually love, I don't know about you guys, I love the Zach Charbonnet's kind of thought to go to Minnesota. He's not an amazing running back by any means, but he's a running back that will put, in a play-action scheme, I'm going to run it smash mouth. I think he's a really good change of, Dalvin Cook is a little bit more elusive and stuff of course, a lot more elusive, and a better receiving back, but I think Zach Charbonnet could be that really good, powerful running back that Minnesota could be actually missing. So, look at that. I can already kind of predict some maybe spots that I would like some of these players to go. Well, we'll see what happens. Number 18, Israel Abanikanda. I have to say it slow. It's like Tua Tagovailoa, but Israel Abanikanda, running back out of Pittsburgh. It's one of those that I have watched, not enough, I believe, of him, but the times that I've watched him, I go, man, I really like his film. And by no means, I think that is necessarily a massive shock, but he had 1,426 yards on 240 carries, 20 touchdowns, which tied him with my gopher, Mo Ibrahim. And really, you look at 46 missed tackles, 38 carries of 10 or more. I need to watch more film on Abanikanda here to see if I really do love the film, or if it was just some of the things I saw. But I mean, I feel like he's good in speed, vision, contact balance, patience, acceleration, and he even has a little bit of power. He's a good overall running back, and so I do want to see a little bit more. I want to watch more film on him. We're early in January. We need to see some more film out of Abanikanda. Devin Chain here. Did I say that right? I'm trying to think. I will watch some. I've definitely watched enough of it. A Caney. Why can't I think of his name? Whatever. Devin, Akaney. We'll just say Jane. They pronounce his name. But whatever. I don't need to know how to pronounce your name as long as, not yet at least. Texas A&M. If you talk about there are levels of being fast, and then there's him. You think you're fast? He had a 200-meter dash of 2020, which was the same as Jamaicans Johan Blake ran this year. I mean, we are talking about a two-time Olympic and world champion. The 40-yard record dash is in danger. He is somebody that I think will shoot up. I mean, I'm going to have to learn his name really quickly because you look at film, he is fast. He's 5'9", 185 pounds. Doesn't really matter to me. When you have that world class of speed, when you have Tyreek speed, that's all that matters. I mean, Chris Johnson's speed, it doesn't really matter in that regards because you could just hand him the ball and he just might be gone. And so I love him. And gosh, can Kansas City draft another running back? That would be something. I mean, he would fit great actually in Kansas City. He would fit great in open space. That's where you want to get him. 5'9", 185 pounds. Again, Olympic type of speed. And then we're going to go with the last guy, which is Rashee Rice, wide receiver at SMU, 6'3", 206 pounds. He definitely ticks a lot of different boxes for an NFL offense and just makes everything kind of look easy, tracks ball really well, can make the first defender miss, can gain some big chunks of yards. And so Rashee, I always want to say Rashee Rice here out of SMU. I mean, he's going to have a Senior Bowl invite. I'm going to be very interested. He's the best senior eligible wide receiver. I want to see him where he had 344 yards as a senior year. I want to see him show himself off at the Senior Bowl. I want him to make himself the best wide receiver in that Senior Bowl area. So he's going to be the one that I'm going to be watching the most into the Senior Bowl. And so I think he'll be similar to potentially Christian Watson, who is another player that kind of shot up boards towards the end of the year. And I want to see exactly what he does. All right. So again, this is Marcus Dynasty with Dads. We are still so early in the 2023 class here. So I want to just say thank you, everybody. Subscribe. We got much more to go. Peace out. Take care, guys.